These players do battle here in just a moment. Gabe, Carleton, Barnes, he's on your right, Mono Black Aggro. Robert, Hunsaker on your left, Naya, Hexproof. As we do have results, we of course will run them off. I will announce the rules for the trivia question. Patrick will have the first question of our weekend, the 3 months, and we are underway here, GCB, with a tormented hero.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad he doesn't have access to things like Agent of Fates, like the Black Aggro decks, just because it's so effective against Hexproof. But I think he's fast. He's got a good curve. I think he's in pretty good shape.
Spot for return, and now an attack here with the Tormented Hero. One thing, don't forget, players do have access to each other's deck lists, so this is no mystery matchup here. GCB knows exactly what he's up against. He knows it's not a Hexproof. He knows that there could be a Selesnya Charm in his future as well. Barnes will take a draw. You saw him play a Mutavault there on turn 2. That might mean that he doesn't have a third land, which could be problematic here for Gabe. He will send in the creatures anyway. Spiteful Return trigger will put Hunsaker down to 16, and now here is a Selesnya Charm, so that can just simply eat the Spiteful Return.
This is definitely a very, very tough break for GCB.
Now, of course, Hunsaker will have to take 1 in order to do that due to the mana confluence, but it does look to be a little problematic here for Gabe, simply because I don't think there's a third land coming here for him. I suppose there's the opportunity for maybe a removal spell here, taking a look at Gabe's deck list. Actually, no, it's just Bile Blights. There's no ultimate.
Not with just one swamp.
Yeah. Not so good. So that's going to be your blocks. Spiteful Return will bite the dust. 2 damage will come across.
Most likely another 2-power creature, like Gnarled Scarhide.
Just kind of a doofus. I think Gabe trying to figure out which one he wants to play. Does have 4 Tormented Heroes, 4 Scarhides, and then 2 copies of Rakdos Cackler in his deck. But he will deploy the Scarhide before passing the turn back over to Hunsaker. Hunsaker will take a draw here. It's a Temple of Abandon. We'll see if he has any way to make that Reduke Soldier token any larger. He will take 1, go down to 12. Maybe an Ethereal Armor, perhaps, in the future. And that's exactly what it is. So now a 3/3 First Strike Vigilance is going to come across. Barnes is going to go down to 17. One thing this black deck does not do very well is block.
No. He needs his best blocking is drawing a swamp and then Bio Blighting or Heroes Downfalling that soldier token before things get out of hand. From the looks of it, he does not yet have the swamp he is looking for.
Man, Barnes looks to fail on drawing the land again this turn. Of course, the attacks will be stymied due to the first strike on that soldier token, excuse me, that knight token. It looks like he's just going to deploy another copy of Spiteful Return before passing the turn back over to Hunsaker, who will untap and take a draw. It was a Witch Stalker. This is a Temple of Abandon. Take a look at the top card. We'll see where this is going to go, and it will go to the bottom. Is there an Unflinching Courage in GCB's future?
Unflinching Courage would be quite good, but he's already completely dominating the board here. He needs a second, he wants really just a second body so that a removal spell doesn't just completely blow him out.
Well, there is a second body. It is a Witch Stalker. Barnes going to untap. Let's see if we can find that third land. It's, oh boy. I think it is a third land, but it's a Mutavault. You need that to be black mana.
Got to phrase your wishes very carefully.
Yeah.
The Jin are not without a sense of humor.
Now, one card that can turn up the heat here is Mogus's Marauder, but I don't believe that Gabe has one of those right now. If he did, it would be pretty good this turn.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be absolutely fantastic. Just get in there for 9. And that would be a very, very potent
Gnarled Scarhide before passing the turn back. Over to Hunsaker, who draws a card. It's a copy of Voice of Resurgence. There's a Chained to the Rocks in the hand, as well as an Ajani Caller of Pride. Another copy of Ethereal Armor as well. Hunsaker might be able to close this game out very quickly.
Now, are any of those lands actually stopping grounds?
At this point, no. They're 3 Temple of Abandons. So Chain of the Rocks is not looking very good right now, but I believe there might be a stopping ground in Hunsaker's hand. But oddly enough, can't really cast a lot of spells. His Mana Confluence is the thing that's really tying the room together.
Yeah, I mean, Naya Hexproof is a deck that really benefited from the printing of Mana Confluence. They needed that so bad to make their mana work. We
do find out that Ben Varshauer is up a game over Josh Ravitz. Mono Black up a game over Mono Blue Devotion.
As expected.
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised to hear Ravitz taking down game number 2 because he's on the play.
A lot of options right now. I mean, how much do you invest in this Knight token? Do you commit more? I mean, because the tough thing is that there's just one white mana, he has to choose out of Voice of Resurgence, Chain to the Rocks, and Ethereal Armor what he does this turn.
Decisions here for Robert. He's just going to attack her just for 3.
Now, the tough thing is that we're starting to get to a space where GCB has so many creatures, he could potentially just alpha, you know?
Maybe it's time for a Chain of the Rocks. Also, don't forget either, Robert's spells, I mean, he has to pay life to cast them, it looks
Every
like.
single one.
Yeah. He's going to pay 1 more here. And this could be the Chain of the Rocks. There is a mountain in play now because of Stomping Ground. So in that comes, and we'll see what it's going to target. And Spiteful Return seems to be the most scary one. So that's going to be put on the rocks. And
Putting on the rocks.
Barnes is going to untap that lone swamp. He'll take a draw. This needs to be a swamp, I think, this turn. I think it needs to be there so he can cast Herald of Torment.
Yeah, he does not have any removal spells that cost single B. Mogi's Marauder, in theory, could still be something because there's only, 7 points of damage showing. So if he played a Mogi's Marauder, at least he just gets in there for 8. So that's something.
That's a start. And Gabe's got to start somewhere here because he can't just keep taking these hits and hoping to fade draw steps. I just don't think it's realistic. All I can do is pass the turn back yet again. Hunsaker's going to untap. He's going to take a draw here. Let's see what he finds. Another copy of Chain of the Rocks. Not the most exciting card, but it's not terrible either.
Yeah, and there's a good chance he'll play the Chain of the Rocks pre-combat so that his Knight token does even more damage.
Now there is a Chain of the Rocks. Yet again, you have to imagine the Tormented Hero. That'll clear the path for Witch Stalker as well. Again, Gnarled Scarhide's a great card, but it can't block. We might see Hunsaker get
Yeah, I think
more
the Witch
aggressive.
Stalker might just stay home, though. Just the, not going to GCB to exactly 1, I think is... Because he missed 1 point of damage from last turn playing the Chain post-combat instead of pre-combat, so he is actually. But he decides to bring it anyway.
So this is going to attack for 5. 6, 7, 8. GCB is going to block here. So he's just going to take 3, go down to 8, lose a Mutavault. I think it's rather important, and I don't even know if the Swamp is really going to help at this point. We'll see.
Well, the Swamp at least kills the Knight, and he's not looking at lethal, and he is swinging in there for 4 and putting Hunsaker on a 1-turn clock. It's got to be Swamp, though.
Yeah. He's had a few turns to draw. The third land was a second Mutavault, and all you can do is pass the turn back yet again. Hunsaker will take a draw. So you can find a second white source. He could close this game out pretty easy. There is another copy of the armor.
And that's all she wrote.
Yeah, man.
And they moved to game 2.
Is going to pick it up. Robert Hunsaker going to win game number 1 here over Gabe, Carleton, Barnes. Nia Hexproof up a game here over Mono Black Aggro. And we will turn our attentions to the sideboard in just a moment, but it is trivia time for you guys at home. The first of 6 giveaways, so we'll bring it back to the booth. 3 months for the first one. I will have the rules. This gentleman will have the question. Very simply, get your Twitters ready. Hashtag the answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. This first trivia question will be for 3 months. We will announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round. And as usual, all giveaways that we do here on SCG Live are at the sole discretion of us. Twitch is in no way affiliated with our giveaways. So thanks to Star City Games.
Lawyers make us say that.
They certainly do. Thanks to Star City Games for the giveaways that we do. And now, for you.
You said do.
I did. And it's time for you to ask a question. I was hoping you wouldn't notice.
So what Magic the Gathering Pro Tour top 8 competitor that went on to work in Wizards of the Coast R&D is back writing for Star City again? You know, he's back. He can't play in the Pro Tours for a year because he knows too much.
Yeah.
You know, he knows too much info,
Yep.
so he can't actually play in the Pro Tours themselves for a little bit. But he is back writing for Star City after his stint behind the wall. Who is that Magic top 8 competitor?
And if you can name that person, hashtag the answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at
SCG
SCG
Live.
Live, and we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round. We'll take a look at the sideboards right now as we make our way through the quarterfinals here. We will look at Carleton Barnes. First, you see a Lifebane Zombie, a Mogus Marauder, 3 Dark Betrayal, 2 Doomblade, 2 Ultimate Price, a Whip of Erebos, 2 Erebos God of the Dead, and 3 copies of Duress. Mr. Chapin, what do you like?
So I like Lifebane Zombie at the very least, I think that regardless of what you were playing in game one, the way that game went, he's going to be more, it's going to be real hard to not want to play with Doomblade, And it's not like there aren't a few targets. I mean, there's Voice of Resurgence tokens, Celestia Charm. No, I think the main thing he wants to do is just stay aggressive. He's got Lifebane Zombie. I think Mogi's Marauder was very clearly, a very live draw throughout the course of that game. And I think he might possibly actually want Duress, particularly since he's on the play, getting to know what he's up against and just the fact that there's so many great hits. So my guess is 3 Duress, 1 Mogi's Marauder, 1 Lifebane Zombie. On the other side of it,
2 Keening Apparition, 3 Skylasher, 1 Voice of Resurgence, Chain of the Rocks, 2 Gift of Orzhova, a Boon Satyr, 2 Ajani's Presence, a Boros Charm, and 2 copy of Mizium Mortars. Hunsaker up a game here. How can he cement his advantage?
Well, he's going to want to bring a lot in. See, the tough thing is that GCB's best game was supposed to be game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Robert's actually gaining a ton. Mizium Mortars, it's awesome just having the spot removal, plus there is the very real potential of overloading it for a total blot. Keening Apparition can trade with things early, but it also is tactically very powerful against a Gnarled Scarhide, a Spiteful Return, Herald of Torment. It kills lots of creatures, and it can even block one and kill another if it needs to. Voice of Resurgence is a very reliable blocker. It trades with things very easily and often with value. Chain to the Rocks, more early removal, exactly what he's looking for. And Gift of Orzhova is actually quite good against GCP because he doesn't have any Devour Fleshes. He doesn't actually have any answers to if you just put a Gift of Orzhova on something like a Witch Stalker, for instance. So I actually think Robert's going to board in a ton of stuff. And he's going to be looking to take out just some of his lower impact cards and a few of his his enhancements, a few of his ways of buffing things.
Yeah, imagine we'll see a card like Boros Charm hit the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that card is, of course, powerful in the abstract, but not necessary in this particular matchup.
Yeah, and I actually think that we may see some trimming of things like Ajani, Caller of the Pride, or possibly even Madcap skills, focusing instead on auras, focusing on removal and then auras that actually give him life so that he can win these races.
This resurge in Naya Hexproof here might be because of Brian DeMars playing for top 8 last weekend in Grand Prix Chicago, ended up in 15th place. I know somebody you know pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just saw him recently when I was back in Michigan for a wedding. He's been advocating Hexproof for a little while and actually, putting up some pretty respectable finishes, putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, lost playing for top 8 last weekend to Tamarhal Saito. Pretty good matchup player to lose to if you're playing for top 8, but Brian has been working on Hexproof for some time now, mixing and matching the numbers. The big innovation for him, kind of strange to say, is that he really, really liked Fleece Mainline in the deck. And that's not a card that Hunsaker is playing with this weekend. But nevertheless, the strategy is one that players have not really been employing very much recently. But you have to imagine that this is another strategy that people decided due to it being a foil to red decks.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to put lifelink on a Hexproof creature is just so powerful. So powerful for racing some of these red decks that just don't even have very much meaningful interaction. They're not exactly playing with a diverse mix of reactive cards. Just burn.
We're underway in game number 2, as we are being told right now that Jesse Harper did win game number 1 over Quillian Rutherford. So Junk Midrange does win game number 1.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you said he can't be touched. There's a Glade Cover Scout.
No, he's like MC Hammer. You cannot touch this. GCB. With the Tormented Hero, what do you think? No trades?
I'm not surprised.
That's a pretty aggressive statement, though, right? Isn't that basically just saying, like, I'm going to do something so awesome?
Well, we're going to find out in just a moment. There is a Celestia Charm, a whole bunch of lands, Temple of Plenty, Stomping Ground, Sacred Foundry,
what is that
and
top
a Manic
card?
Influence. That top card will have him slide down for us. It looks like it's a Mizium Mortars.
Ooh, that's a good one to know about.
It's not the best hand I've ever seen from
No,
Hunsaker.
I actually would have traded with the Glade
Yeah,
Scout
I think
here.
I would have too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, what are you even doing?
Your hand doesn't really do very much. I mean, you have the ability, of course, and you do get to draw a card every turn, as they say, to find a way to turn that into a real threat. But that is not a very exciting hand. I think if you're Gabe and that's what you see with Duress, you're breathing a sigh of relief here.
So what do you think? You like the Mizium Mortars or the Celestia Charm?
I like the Charm.
Yeah? Just make it easier on yourself?
Yeah, it's like, if Mortar's just killing one of my guys, it's like I don't really care. All my
Yeah,
guys are pretty replaceable.
He is pretty flooded, though. You think there's any chance that Mortars comes down on turn 6?
Nah, I would be surprised. Yeah,
Let's
it's
take
going
the
to be the
Celestia
Charm.
Charm as advertised. Oh, he takes them both.
Sure.
Yeah.
All that conversation, and for what?
Yeah, this one's looking pretty good for GCB.
Yeah, as long as he has some sort of follow-up here. I mean, Tormented Hero is a good card, of course, as there's a Voice of Resurgence to draw there for Hunsaker. Yeah. Going to take 2, as we do have an update here between Michael Phelps and Mitch Gross. Mono Blue versus Mono Black. They're going to game number 3. So there's your voice. There's an attack for 1. Carleton Barnes going to go down to 19. You see the score, 19-14. Barnes will draw a card. See if he can follow up after those discard spells. He had some trouble with mana the last game. This one, maybe he draws too many. Does have a Doomblade in hand.
How is he going to want to play this? I mean, Voice of Resurgence obviously showing its strength here. Voice of Resurgence is not exactly the card you want to attack with a bunch of 2/1s into, but it's also not the kind of card you want to just Doomblade.
Yeah. Neither line is all that exciting. Let's see what this third land's going to be. I'm interested to see if it's a Mutavault. It's just going to be a swamp.
A lot of options. Both players a little flooded, but neither player presenting anything particularly high impact at the moment.
Yeah, the hand here for Barnes actually has a copy of Gnarled Scarhide in the grip. So Tormented Hero is going to come in.
Robert could not block fast enough.
No, I wouldn't wait either. As there is a copy of Gnarled Scarhide. Of course, Barnes does have a Doomblade in hand. You can use when he'd like to. Doesn't have to use it now. Before passing the turn back. And he will just fire it off now. I'm a little surprised with the timing, just because he can choose to wait. Let's see what the draw is here. It's another land there for Hunsaker. So there's a Temple of Plenty. He's going to look at the top card of his deck. Use it on top very, very quickly, but his hand right now is all lands. In comes the Scout. Barnes will go down to 18.
You think he's drawing a spell next turn?
I have a pretty good feeling that he is.
Gotta respect the just continuing to swing with the 1/1 Scout and just taking 2 a turn from various 1-drops.
No interest in trading.
No, I believe in my 1-drop. I am going to ride this thing. But I also respect that GCB continues to just bring the funky beats instead of, trying to block with his Tormented Hero. Now he has Gnarled Scarhide. It's not even a question anymore, but...
Gabe's card in his hand that he drew for the turn was a Thoughtseize. Powerful card to be sure, but not the best time to draw it. Hunsaker, we know he's going to draw a spell. The question is which one. This is a copy of Ethereal Armor, so that's going to pump that up.
Now he stays home.
Are the brakes on? All right.
Yeah.
Well, Herald of Torment.
He has assembled Moat.
Yeah. I could assemble the Abyss if he wants. What's that mean?
The Abyss? I've seen many the Abysses, and that is not one.
Mutavault the land for GCB before passing the turn back. Hunsaker's drawn another spell. This is a Gift of Orzhova.
I mean, gift indeed.
And now this will be an attack for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Barnes is going to go down to 14. Hunsaker's going to go up to 16, and the race is on.
He has built his own Blood Baron of sorts.
Yep.
Not a ton GCB can do about this.
It's going to take some runner, nothing funner for GCB to get back into this one. It was a swamp that he drew. Puts a Mutavault into play. We'll fire up that Mutavault. Come in here for 4. Hunsaker's going to go back to 12.
The problem is he's not actually gaining any ground, and he's only going to live 3 more turns before succumbing.
Barnes draws his card. Hunsaker draws his card for the turn. This is an attack for 4 yet again. So Barnes is going to go down to 10. Hunsaker back up to 16. Follow-up play here is Witchstalker.
Man, he just keeps drawing platinum hits.
And this one looks to be getting away from Gabe Carleton Barnes. The 3 seed coming in on the play both games. Had some mana troubles in the first one, drawing too many in this one, it looks like. Just going to pass the turn back. Hunsaker will take a draw here. In for 4 more we go.
It's tough. GCB doesn't really have any cards that can interact with this at all.
And that's part of the appeal of playing this deck is that, if you pick it at the right time in the right tournament, players will have to just sit here and just take these lumps with no outs, no answers,
no hope. I think GCB's biggest hope at this point is that he somehow miraculously boarded in a Whip of Erebos.
That would work.
I think Erebos got Erebos God of the Dead actually is probably his best legitimate hope just in terms of shutting off the life gain. Although at this point it's far too late.
Yeah, with Hunsaker all the way back to 20. Gonna fire at Mutavault here. Yeah, this looks like a Herald of Torment. Yep. He's trying to find a way back into this thing. He's gonna come in here.
It's a nice little play.
For 5, yeah. Again, he's won pizza queue with this deck. He knows the interactions.
It gets to fall off immediately
Yeah,
so that it can chunk block next turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a good play. It's really tough, though.
That makes it harder. And
All
Mr.
right,
Gabe
so
Carleton
that is the
Barnes
match.
is going to concede this match. Robert Hunsaker defeats GCB 2-0. Naya Hexproof is moving on over Mono Black Aggro. And the winner of the Jesse Harper, William Rutherford. And Harper is up a game with Junk Midrange. We'll be playing against Hunsaker in the morning. Congratulations to Robert. We will see him bright and early. As it looks like our backup match here between Josh Ravitz and Ben Varsaker is where we're going to be heading, or we thought so. Ben